Hello board game brothers and sisters, I'm Adam Singer and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know of all the board games launching on Kickstarter and GameFound over the next week. If you're new to the channel, we do this every week going over all the upcoming campaigns, so if you want to stay up to date, this is definitely the place to be. But before we get started, I do like to go over some new announcements and discoveries that I just found out about over the past week, and I do have a few exciting ones for you to check out. And the first one is that a new campaign was just announced for the game food chain Magnate, which is really exciting to hear because this one was originally published by Splatter Games, and they have historically kept to themselves when it comes to the publishing of their games. Their games have also been very expensive, even in retail, which was the only way that you could get them other than secondhand market, because these games were also really difficult to find as well. This is a game that I heard a lot about when I first got into board gaming, and I always really wanted to try it. So I went to my local game store and went to purchase this game, but it was priced at ridiculous prices, so I never looked much further into this game because I just couldn't justify what they're asking, and it felt like a little bit of a slap in the face. So I was really excited to see that this one is going to be handled by Lucky Duck Games, and I'm sure that this one's not going to be any cheaper than what I saw it for retail all those years ago. And I also didn't realize I would be buying games off of Kickstarter for multiple times the price that I saw this game for. But even though this one might not be any cheaper, you will be getting a lot more for your money because this is going to be looking a lot nicer. Lucky Duck always does a fantastic job, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch more that the game will have to offer you as well. So if you are interested in this game, or if this is a game that you always wanted to add to your collection but didn't want to for any of the same reasons that I did, then this is definitely one that you'll want to follow along with, and this one should be launching on November 14th. And the next big announcement is that we did just get another campaign announced from Wehrlegig Games, which brought you games like Pax Pamir, as well as John Company, and those games were all designed by Cole Worley, who also designed games like Oath and even Root. He has been known to make more heavy and complex games, especially those that have heavy asymmetry amongst the players, but this one is going to be a little bit different, I think, because this one's actually not originally designed by Cole Worley, although he did help with the development. For that reason, he is credited as one of the developers, so I'm really interested to see what this duo has come up with, especially since so many of Cole's previous games have been such hits in the community. But this one should be launching on October 17th, so if you are interested in that one, I will be covering it very shortly on this channel, so make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't already. And the next big announcement is that Steamforged Games is going to be adding a new entry into their Horizon games with Horizon Forbidden West. They already did launch Horizon Zero Dawn a couple years ago, but now they're going to be expanding on that world with this newer game, which I believe will be a standalone version of the game, but it will continue on that story and that world. So if you do own that original game, you might be interested in this one, or if you're just interested in the franchise, because this one is, of course, based on the video game with the same name. But Steamforged Games has a lot of expertise working with video game IP, and they have done a great job of this historically, creating games like Monster Hunter World, as well as Elden Ring, and even Resident Evil. Ton of other ones as well, but if you are interested in Horizon Zero Dawn, I will be covering this one in the coming weeks because it will be launching on November 21st. And I did just want to make a quick mention to a game over on GMT Games, and if you're not familiar with this platform, this is a website that works very similar to Kickstarter, where different designers can post up their games that they are near completion on, and if they do get enough interest, then GMT Games helps them publish that game. The platform is more focused on strategy and war games, but it is also the original publisher of the game Twilight Struggle, which is number 14 on Board Game Geek, so they do have quite a lot of experience and history. But the reason I want to point this one out is because this is a design from one of our viewers, and he let me know that he was trying to get some attention for this game, so I did want to help him out a bit. And this one is a dice rolling tactical war game that is mostly entirely made of cards and dice. The way this game works is that you're going to be using cards to represent all your different units, as well as the different locations that players will be engaging in battle. Players will be rolling dice on their turn, and then depending on the different combinations that you get, you can actually spend those dice to activate different actions for your individual units. Whenever you see multiple dice side by side here, it just means that you can use one or the other. You don't need both of those dice in order to activate that action, which just gives you a lot more flexibility when you are assigning your dice. The cool thing here is that most of your dice are going to be regular white dice, but there will also be a few colored dice mixed in there as well. And some of these actions do require you to spend a die of a certain color or of one of a couple certain colors. This one does introduce new mechanisms as you play through 12 scenarios during the weeks after the D-Day landings, and this one doesn't involve a whole lot of complexity in the actual learning and playing the game, so you don't need to be a hardcore wargamer in order to be able to play this one. So if that does sound interesting to you, I will have a link to this campaign in the description below. As always, I do want to make a quick mention over to Alex at Board Game Co, because him and I do work together keeping track of all these different campaigns, and he does fantastic work over on his channel, offering you a whole variety of different content. You'll definitely want to check him out if you haven't already. But Alex and I do keep track of the upcoming campaigns individually, but we do sync up periodically just to make sure that we have all the information to make these videos, as well as for him to make his videos, because he also posts a video at the start of each month, going over the month and letting you know of all the heavy hitters that we know about at that time. He always posts this video at the start of the month, and we are getting very, very close to the start of October, so you can expect that to go up really, really soon. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure that you subscribe to his channel, and you can click that bell icon to get notified anytime that he posts a video. And also, I should probably market myself a little bit here too, because I am super inconsistent when I post my videos. I always do post my video on the Saturday, but depending on how many games I have to cover and how much free time I have and how many other things get in the way, and also how many retakes and splicing together footage I have to do, because unfortunately I could not do these in a single take like Alex. But basically what that all amounts to is that my video can end up online at any time on Saturday, whether it's early in the morning or sometimes very late at night. And this video is currently the only video that I post every single week, so if you don't want to miss out on it, but you want to get more consistent notifications as to when they go up, I do recommend that you use the bell icon for my channel as well. Because I'm so inconsistent, it just makes it a lot easier to know when my video gets posted up, since it will send a single push notification to your phone. And that is everything I have for an intro, and if you were looking for a little bit of respite from the past 2 weeks and the massive amounts of games that were being launched, this is definitely a good week for it, because we only have a few games to go over, but there are still some really interesting ones, so let's check them out. And the first campaign we have launches on October 2nd, and this one's called 99 Ninja. And this plays 1 to 2 players and takes about 10 to 20 minutes to play. And this is also a game that I was just more and more impressed with the more that I looked into it. And I shouldn't be too surprised by that, because this one is coming from the same publisher that created Micro Dojo, which is another game that I thought packed quite a lot of punch in a very small package. And I think the same can be said about this game. Although they do share a similar publisher and a very similar theme, these two games are very different from each other, and they do have different designers, but there are some small similarities on very, very low level fundamental mechanisms, in the sense that players will be sharing control of the different ninja characters out on the table, and then players are also going to be wanting to time when certain trigger events happen to trigger scoring, because you're going to want to be in control of the appropriate ninja when that happens so that you're getting the most points. But the way that this game works is that players are going to be setting up the main board by drawing 4 different tiles and then putting those tiles randomly in a square, with each of those tiles being made up of a bunch of different spaces. Some of these spaces can have nothing at all, but they could also have enemy daimyo or even enemy ninja. Players are going to be placing kind of polyomino cards, and I'll come back to these in a second, but you're essentially placing these polyomino cards in order to cover up those ninja in order to gain points, or to completely surround those enemy daimyo. And I say that these are kind of polyomino because they do work very similar to polyominoes in the way that you're going to have different ninjas in different shapes, but instead of it being on a polyomino itself, it's actually going to be on a clear card. And this is actually a really, really interesting choice, because it allows you to have certain layouts that are not actually possible with a single polyomino, because you can actually have a single ninja that is completely detached from the rest of the polyomino. But players are going to be taking turns placing these cards, covering up and surrounding the ninja out on the main board. But one thing to note here is that players are actually sharing control of 3 different colored ninja. There's the black ninja, the red ninja, and the white ninja. Whenever you place a card and either cover up your enemy ninja or surround a daimyo, you're only going to be scoring points for the ninja on your card that match the card that's currently in front of you. But luckily, you do have some additional control over this, because at the start of your turn, you can actually swap 2 of these cards in order to change the ninja that's in front of you, or even potentially change the ninja that is in front of your opponent, because no matter whose turn it is, if a ninja matching your color covers up an enemy ninja on that board, whether you placed it or your opponent, the player that has control over that color is going to be the one getting that point. And of course, since there's 3 different colored ninja that you can score, you're actually going to have 3 different score tracks, with each of those tracks being associated with one of those ninja. Every time a player gets a point, you're going to be pulling the point tracker towards your side of the table, which means that each of these tracks are going to behave a little bit like a tug of war, where you're trying to pull that token towards your side. Whenever a card's placed that finishes off surrounding a daimyo completely, that player that placed that card is going to be gaining a daimyo token, and then the opposing player is going to be compensated with a favor token. And I'll come back to both of these in a second here. But then each of the different colored ninja that were used to surround that daimyo are going to be scoring their associated player points on the scoreboard, moving them up and down those tracks. It doesn't matter who placed that card at this point, you're just going to be gaining points for any of the ninja that currently match the card that's in front of you. But those favor tokens can actually be spent to activate one of the 3 available special abilities that are going to be face up on the table. There's a few of these that are going to be offered in the box, but you're only going to be playing with 3 from game to game, which means that you can have quite a lot of variety from game to game, just from the different abilities that might get included. And the game continues like this until no more cards can be placed, and then players are going to be taking back all their daimyo tokens that they earned throughout the game. And then this is where the scoring gets really interesting, because players are actually going to go through a bit of a blind bidding. You're going to be assigning those daimyo tokens across the 3 different tracks, and then whatever the difference is between what you bid and your opponent, that is going to be pulling that track either towards or away from you. After this is resolved, the player that has more of those tracks pulled to them wins the game. And if this one sounds interesting to you, you can check it out in the description below, and of course click to get notified. And launching on October 3rd, we have Paragons, the Age of Champions. This plays 2 to 3 players and takes about 45 to 75 minutes to play. And this one is a competitive drafting card game, which was actually launched a couple months ago, but they pulled it down in order to work on some of the presentation of the game, including more content now in order to cover the solo mode as well as some of the scenarios. But they also did take it as an opportunity to work on and improve on their pricing structure. So if you were interested in that original campaign, this is the next opportunity to jump in on it. And since this one did already launch previously, I did already provide coverage for this one. I think I did a pretty good job covering it, so I'll just go ahead and roll that previous footage for you now. This one is a competitive card battler that uses drafting as well as deck building, and it also incorporates a lot of elements of your classic trading card game, but rather than having to buy a bunch of different decks of cards, everything is supplied in a single box. And like I said, depending on what you choose, it's going to change your overall style of play for the game, but after you've chosen your leader card, players are going to be taking turns drafting mercenary cards from the supply at the center of the table. These mercenaries are your primary means of combat, and they are all unique and have their own advantages, so you're going to be trying to pick mercenaries that synergize well with your leader card. If your chosen class was the warrior, that's going to allow you to apply all sorts of different buffs to your mercenaries, but if you chose the mage, that's going to grant you different spells that you can use against your opponents and also to manipulate the board. Finally, there is the ranger, which is going to allow you to gain access to all sorts of different traps and tools to try and put your opponents in a vulnerable state in order to work up to a more calculated attack. I couldn't find too much more info on how combat actually works in this game, but I imagine it'll work very similar to a lot of other card battlers with these unique elements layered on top of it. So if this one does sound interesting to you, you can definitely check it out to learn more about how exactly it plays. And I have links to the campaign in the description below. And also launching on October 3rd, we have an expansion to the game Merchants of Magick, and this is called the Dangerous Business expansion, and it plays 1 to 8 players and takes about 45 to 60 minutes to play, and this is going to be introducing 2 new modules into the game. But before I jump into those, I just want to let you know how the original game plays if you're not familiar with it, because this one is actually a roll and write, and each player is going to have their own sheet of paper. We're going to be keeping track of different enchantments that you unlock as well as different crafted items. But essentially the way this game works is that every single round a pool of dice are going to be rolled, and then players are each going to be choosing 2 of those dice in order to activate on their sheet in order to fill in various areas. And you're essentially trying to fill in the appropriate areas in order to craft specific items for certain order cards that are going to be showing up throughout the game. Because each player is going to have 3 order cards at the top of their sheet, and you'll be able to fulfill any of those within the round, and then you'll be gaining those victory points. But these customers are not going to sit around and wait if you take too long, so any orders that you're not able to fulfill during that round are actually going to be rotating to the player beside you. The game continues like this, and then the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game. But like I said, this expansion is going to be adding 2 new modules into the game, and I think these are quite significant additions to the game, and they both look like a ton of fun. The first module is the Creatures module, and this one's going to be introducing a whole bunch of monster cards into the game, and you're going to be taking just a few of these and then building a row of monsters with a final boss monster at the end. And each player is also going to be starting the game with a sponsored hero board. And this represents an adventure that's going to be using your gear in order to fight those monsters. And this means that not only do you have the ability to craft items to fulfill those orders in the original game in order to score victory points, but you can also use your items to fulfill the requirements of your hero, because if you're able to give your hero the items that they need, that will actually increase their strength and allow them to fight stronger and stronger monsters, gaining you the victory points and abilities that come along with those after you defeat them. These additional actions usually allow you to fill in even more areas of your sheet, having a cascading effect and allowing you to complete more and more products sooner. If you're able to get your hero strong enough to get through all the monsters, there's also a final boss that's going to be worth a ton of victory points, and whoever defeats that boss first is going to be getting the most victory points. But then there's also the minions that come after it that are going to be giving any following players a little bit less. Second module offered in this campaign is actually going to be introducing brand new cards into the game known as the action cards. Along with these cards, there's going to be a brand new phase that happens after players have drafted their dice, and this is going to be known as the action phase, where players can use those cards to do all sorts of different things, because there's a whole variety of action cards that are going to be offered in this module. These action cards can allow you to spend your potion tokens, which are normally used just to increase or decrease your dice by a pip, but now can also be used to activate these action cards to allow you to brew powerful potions for even more powerful effects. There's also cards that allow players to reserve advanced orders, which will be separate from that main deck, and these are going to be worth more victory points, but if you reserve one of these orders and then you're not able to fulfill it before the end of the game, you're actually going to be losing victory points. So this does have a little bit of a push your luck mechanism where you want to try and reserve them sooner before other players take them from you, but you also want to make sure that you're going to be able to fulfill them. These are only a couple of examples of the different action cards available in the game, and there's going to be a whole bunch of other cards and even cards that allow you to steal customers from your opponents. The new campaign will be offering these new expansions as well as the original game, so if either of those sound interesting to you, you can find a link in the description below. Also launching on October 3rd, we have the One Card Maze, and this is a game that takes place entirely on a single card, because this card is just going to be a maze that players are going to be trying to solve. But what makes this one really interesting is that each of the doors in these mazes are going to have an arrow associated with them, and you can only pass through that door when the arrow is pointing upward. This means that you're actually going to be rotating and flipping this card in order to try and get the doors into the configuration that you want in order to pass through them when you're at that point in the maze. Players will be able to move through these different areas, but then only be able to flip or rotate the card when they reach certain icons. So if you want to rotate the card to any orientation, you'll have to get to one of these rotate icons. But if you ever get to the edge of the card, you'll actually be able to flip that card over, accessing the other side of the maze, which will have other opportunities to rotate and flip the card and move through different doors. So you're going to be using those in conjunction with each other in order to try and find the end of the maze. So each of these are going to be offering a unique puzzle, and there's going to be 9 different mazes offered in this campaign. Since all of this is just contained on a single card, these are going to be super portable and super easy to take along with you wherever you go. But if you are interested in this and you want to know what kind of challenge they present or what exactly it feels like to play one of these mazes, you can go ahead and sign up on their website, which will get you access to some free mazes that you can try out for yourself, which I think is really awesome of the creator to do that. But if you are interested in this campaign, I will have a link in the description below. And of course, you can click to get notified. Also on the 3rd, we have another expansion, but first, I just want to let you know a little bit about this expansion because it will be adding a threat into the game, because there's going to be a monster hidden in this maze that players are trying to escape, but the monster can actually periodically attack the players and even destroy sections of the board. Since this is a game where players are trying to find their way through a maze and escape the labyrinth, sections of the board getting destroyed can be very, very costly. Whenever this monster isn't attacking the players, it's going to slink back into the pits where it hides, but players can actually intentionally go down there and try to keep the monster at bay, because the light of the candle that you bring down with you will temporarily hold that monster back. But like I said, this is a campaign that I did cover in the past, and if you do want to know more about it, I'll go ahead and roll that previous footage for you now. And in this game, you awaken in the dark, your skin cold and your mind blank. You have nothing but fear, a flickering candle, and a question. How long will your light last? And this is a cooperative game where all the players are going to be working together to try and escape the labyrinth. The thing that makes this tricky is that your light only lights up a certain number of tiles around you. And as soon as a tile goes out of the diameter of your light, that tile will change if you try to go back to it. So you're in a maze that's constantly changing, and on top of that, there's monsters hiding in every corner. Each player has to find their own key in order to escape, and then you all have to escape together by finding the exit in the tunnel. Also launching on October 3rd, we have Legends of Signum 2 Warseer, and this plays 1 to 4 players and takes about 30 to 60 minutes to play. And as the title suggests, this is a new iteration of a game known as Legends of Signum, and the original game played more like a war game where you'd be using a ruler to measure between the different units, and there was just a lot more overhead with that game, and it was geared towards, I would say, a different crowd, where this new version completely revamps the game and introduces all sorts of new elements to make it a lot more easy to jump into, and just a little bit friendlier to your average gamer, because this is actually going to be introducing a hex grid, which is going to alleviate a lot of the measurement with the different rulers, but it also makes some improvements to the game, whereas in the original game you'd have to draw unit cards before you could actually play them out on the board, whereas this one you actually have access to all your units at the beginning of the game, and the decision of which units to put out first is going to be purely strategic and up to the individual players. Combat in the game has also been streamlined, with only the attacking player now needing to roll dice, and then there's also a phase where players will gain income that they'll be able to spend on their units and throughout the game. But now this is something that players will actually be able to influence, because you'll actually be gaining more money for each of the cards that you've used and destroyed throughout the game. Each of the cards can come with some different stats and abilities that players can take advantage of throughout the game. And then there's also going to be different objective cards that players will be trying to fulfill, and you'll have to meet the requirements of that card in order to put that card into play, but it will usually grant you some amount of victory points. I am filming this before the campaign launches, so I couldn't find much more info on how the game plays at the time of filming this video, but if you are interested to know more, I'll leave a link either to the campaign or the website in the description below, where of course you'll be able to find a lot more details once the campaign actually launches. And if you do think that this is a game that you might back, you'll probably want to subscribe to their email list, because that'll also get a bonus gift added to your pledge. And that's everything for this week, but don't leave yet, because as always, we still do have some awesome giveaways to announce. And these are the easiest giveaways to enter ever. You don't have to like or subscribe or do anything like that. All you got to do is leave a comment down below. But if you do like this content, you want to help support the channel and see more videos like this show up in your feed, I do always appreciate it. But the first giveaway is going to be for a pledge for Theme Park Mania. And if you're not familiar with this game, you can check it out on Kickstarter now, but this is a really neat competitive game where players are going to be competing to build up a theme park and then ride the various rides that the players install. Players are going to be playing the first half of the game using their actions to put different railroads and paths out on the main board. And you're going to be doing this to build up the main layout of your park. And then you're also going to be using actions to build up the rides, combining different combinations of attractions in order to build up your specific ride. Once players build a certain amount of rides, it's going to kick off the second portion of the game, where players will actually be able to place their meeples at the gate of the park and then use actions to move around and actually start riding all those different rides in order to gain victory points, and the player with the most victory points at the end of the game wins the game. Of course, there's all sorts of action cards that you can play when you're moving through the park, some that can help you in various ways but also harm your opponents. Cool thing here is that you only get access to the action cards once you get to the second half of the game, but all of the initial actions are still available, so you can continue to build up the park. And this giveaway is going to be for the limited first edition pledge, which is of course exclusive to Kickstarter, but it's going to get you this really cool tuck box with the foil text, as well as some gold painted miniatures added to your pledge. There's a bunch of other really cool items as well, and of course you get the core game as well as all unlocked stretch goals. And to enter this giveaway, all you gotta do is leave a comment down below with the hashtag theme park. You can say anything that you like, but if you're looking for a suggestion, maybe you could let us know what your favorite type of ride is, or if you like rides at all, because I know a lot of people don't like them. For myself, I like roller coasters, and I specifically have a special place in my heart for the wooden roller coasters because although roller coasters can be scary with the loops and the speed and just flying through the air going who knows where, I always found that the wooden roller coasters were always scary on a different level because they just feel like they're going to fly off the tracks at any given moment, and for whatever sick, twisted reason, I tend to find that kind of fear a lot more fun. And the next giveaway we have is for a pledge for the Tiny Game series, and this actually includes 3 different games, and they all look like a ton of fun, but the one that looks like the most fun to me is definitely Sirens. This one is a 2-player game where players are going to be building up their songs and then trying to create different patterns with their different song cards in order to win each round. The way that a round plays is that players are going to be drafting a hand of cards. They're going to be picking cards to put down in any order that you like in order to build up your song. You're always going to be discarding the last card, but you're going to be doing this twice, building up the first half of your song, and then drafting again, and then building up the second half of your song. This is going to continue for up to 3 rounds, and the player that wins 2 of the 3 rounds is the one that wins the game. And this one also has a really cool feature that once you actually complete your song, there's a accompanying app that you can download, and you can scan your song and hear what it actually sounds like. Defrag is a very different puzzly type game where players are going to have a grid of cards in front of them, and on each side of the card you're going to have different icons representing different applications on your computer, and for each round in this game you're just going to be trying to score for just one of those icons. So the way that this works is that every turn you'll be able to put 1 card down, and then you'll be able to rotate that card any way that you like, but then you'll also be able to rotate any of the cards adjacent to it that you were able to match icons with. The whole goal is to try and get multiple cards with the same icons pointing up in order to be able to stack those cards together. This of course frees up more locations within the grid where you can then put new cards in a following turn. The end of the round is triggered when there's no more cards to add into that stack, and then you're just going to be going through that stack and adding up all the icons that you're scoring for in order to determine your victory points. You're then going to be shuffling up the cards and repeating this whole process with that particular icon being off bounds for scoring for the rest of the game, which means that you're going to have to pick one of the other icons to score for. Once you've scored for all the different icons through multiple rounds, then you're going to be adding up all your individual victory points earned, and then that's your total victory points at the end of the game. 16 Candies is a much simpler game, but I think the real interesting part of this one is the way that the scoring works, because in this game each player starts with a set amount of score, and this is a game where it's easier to actually lose your points than to gain them. But the way that this game works is that players are going to be drawing cards trying to create the most of a single type of candy. This means that you could be discarding your card in order to grab another one, and you're just trying to get as many of the same type of candy until you think that you have the most of any one given candy. Once you do that, you can actually call the end of the round, so this is a little bit of a push your luck. You're only going to want to do this when you really do think that you're ahead. If you were ahead, you're actually going to be gaining points, but if you were not ahead, then you're going to be losing points. But then whichever player has the least amount of any candy is always going to be losing points. The game continues like this over a series of rounds, and then the last player standing wins the game. And this giveaway is going to be for the all-in game bundle deal, and this is going to include all 3 games as well as a storage solution for them. And in order to enter this giveaway, all you gotta do is leave a comment down below with the hashtag tiny, and you can say anything that you want, but if you're looking for something in particular, maybe you could let us know what your favorite song is, or maybe your favorite candy, or maybe an application that has a special place in your heart. And the next giveaway is going to be for a pledge for Golden Nugget. And this is a game where players are going to be trying to find the Golden Nugget within a raven's nest. But players are all playing as different woodland creatures with their own special abilities. And players are going to be drawing up a hand of cards that's going to allow them to sift through the rocks and stones that are within the nest and try to find clues or even discover where that gold nugget actually is. Players, of course, are trying to keep all this information secret while trying to confuse the other players, and there are cards that allow you to set the other players back. There's also ways to put raven feathers into the dens of the other players, and what this is going to do is cause the raven to be attracted to that den anytime that that raven flies overhead. Of course, this does have negative effects to those players. At the end of the game, all players are going to be closing their eyes, counting to 3, and then trying to be the first one to slap their hand on the stone that they believe is the golden nugget. At this point, all those stones are revealed, and the first player to have slapped their hand on the actual nugget is going to be the one that wins the game. And this giveaway is going to be for one of these pledges, but I'm not sure which one just yet because the publisher did say that they would be donating a pledge, but they didn't specify exactly which one, so I'll have to sort that out with them once we actually draw the winner. But I did say that all you had to do to enter these giveaways was leave a comment down below. And now I'm realizing that that might have been a bit of a lie because I'm actually going to be running this one over on the Discord because we haven't run any giveaways over on the Discord in a little while. And I don't want people to get too lonely over there, but this is just as easy as leaving a comment down below, if not easier, because all you got to do is head down to our Discord, which I will have linked in the description below. Head over to the giveaways channel, and then all you got to do is click this little emoji underneath that giveaway, and that'll get you entered into the giveaway, which will be automatically drawn at the end of next week. And while you're on the Discord, feel free to browse around and check out the different channels that we do have because everything is sorted on our Discord in terms of when the games are going to be launching. So I'm letting you know of all the games we know that are launching this week. But if there's any updates to that, we always do update the Discord first. And you can even see further into the future if you want to see what's going to be coming in upcoming weeks or in the following months, or even what's left over in this year. But just to make your journey over the Discord even more worth it, I will be doing another giveaway over here, and this one's going to be for a pledge for Vynestra, which is a Rome-themed 5e compatible RPG. And this one's really interesting because it actually takes place back in ancient Rome, and players are going to be playing as potential demigods, using the power of the gods as well as mythical beasts in order to build up their characters and carry on the adventure. I really like what they did on the theme with this one because a lot of RPGs do tend to be more fantasy based, and although this one does have some fantasy elements, I do like that it does take place in a real world location and does take inspiration from different mythologies that actually exist within our world. And if this sounds like something you might be interested in, I do highly recommend that you head over to their campaign and check it out because they do have a preview that you can download, get your feet wet, and kind of get an idea of what you can expect. But also, if you're interested in this, you'll want to enter this giveaway. And this giveaway is going to be for the full collection in PDF form. So this is going to allow you to download everything onto your computer, and you can run the whole campaign with your laptop on hand or your tablet, whatever you want to use in order to view these PDFs. Or of course, if you are more of the pen and paper type, you could print these off as well. And just like before, all you got to do is head over to the Discord in the description below, head over to the giveaways channel, and then click the little emoji underneath that giveaway. And that will be automatically drawn at the end of next week. But that is all the giveaways we have for this week, but not all the giveaways we need to talk about because we still have to draw for the winners from last week, and we do have quite a lot to draw for. If you did tune into last week, you know that we had quite a lot of really exciting giveaways. We had Beast Shattered Isles as well as the core game. We also had a pledge for Dragon Eclipse, Storyburg, Rivals, and even a pledge for Canopy. And one thing I want to mention is that I actually ran the giveaway for Beast on a different video, so if you wanted to enter that one, you just had to leave a comment on the video created by Shut Up and Sit Down. And then if you wanted to enter for the giveaway for the pledge for Dragon Eclipse, then you had to leave a comment on the Board Game Gardens video where she went through the opening chapters of the game. But I did notice that a lot of you still left comments on my video with the hashtag Dragon Eclipse. Very sneaky of you, but I don't really mind who enters these giveaways. That's why I don't require anyone to like or subscribe or do anything like that. But if you do want to enter these giveaways, you should probably at least watch the instructions on how to enter them because there's no drawing from my comments for those two particular giveaways. But let's use this comment picker to draw from the comments. All these extra names down here are bonus entries for my Patreon subscribers. If you do like this sort of content and you do want to help support the channel, because I do put a lot of effort into this, it does take me a lot of time and sacrifice, and all of this support does help to make these efforts just a little bit more sustainable for me, since I don't require any publishers to give me any sort of compensation in order for me to cover their games. But if you're not in a position to join, or if you're just not interested in it, that's totally fine. I still do appreciate you coming here and checking out these videos, entering these giveaways, leaving comments, and just being involved in the community, because that's what this is really all about. But let's go ahead and draw those comments and draw a winner. And the winner for a pledge of Dragon Eclipse is King Leonidas 159X, and this is one of our Patreon subscribers. I was kind of hoping this one would be a winner from the comments, just because I do think it's kind of fun to see people's names get pulled from other people's videos, but we still do have a chance with Beast, so we'll see what happens there. But the comment picker gods have spoken, and this is always fun no matter what, especially for our winner here. So congratulations on the win. Just email me at adam@shelfclutter.com and we'll get that all sorted out, but I will reach out to you as well. And for the next giveaway, we'll draw for Beast. So let's grab that URL and go back to the comment picker. Paste it in here. And yeah, that's everything. So let's draw those comments. Oops, that's not everything. This one we do need to filter because there are a ton of comments that were already on that video. So we do need to filter it down to the ones that actually entered the giveaway. So we'll put the hashtag Beast on there. And then apparently I messed up that URL. Oops. This URL. Okay, here we go. Grab those comments and draw a winner. And the winner for Beast is Yapeng Y, which is one of our Patreon subscribers again. I'm sorry, comment section. I can't force these things one way or another. But I will be making some changes in the future to help increase the odds of winning from the comment section. Right now I just put in every Patreon's bonus entries in every single giveaway because I don't really have a better way to manage it. But I am also a developer, and if I can just find enough time, I do want to create a system where the patrons can actually opt into different giveaways, which means that all of them won't be opting into every single giveaway. They'll probably just be entering the ones that they want to, which means that a lot less entries from Patreon will be making their way into each of the individual giveaways. So if you are interested in winning a pledge, I do suggest that you subscribe down below. I am going to try to figure something like this out in the coming months. I'm hoping to have some time over Christmas to work on this, but no promises there. But if you do subscribe and enter in these giveaways, there will be some point in the future where the YouTube comments will have a higher chance of winning than they do currently right now. But that being said, even if there's 1,000 other entries in here, 1 in 1,000 is still better odds than a lot of other contests out there. And since I do giveaways every single week and multiple giveaways every week as well, your odds of winning are actually really quite good. And the next giveaway we're going to draw for is the pledge for Storyburg. And we're going to do the exact same thing here. So I already entered everything. So let's grab those comments and draw a winner. And the winner for a pledge for Storyburg is Billy, Indiana. Congratulations on the win here. I'll reach out to you and let you know that you won yourself a pledge for Storyburg. But let's go ahead and draw the winner for Rivals, which we're going to do next. So let's go back to the comment picker here. I believe this was Rivals, or was it Rival? Let's see. Get comments. Yes, looks like that's good. So we got the comments. So let's draw a winner. And the winner for Rivals is Tony Ackley, which is another one of our Patreon subscribers. So congratulations, Tony. I'll reach out to you and let you know that you won yourself a pledge for Rivals. And last but not least, let's draw the winner for Canopy. So let's enter Canopy in as the hashtag, draw those comments, and draw the winner. And the winner for Canopy is Purple Hound, and this one is a YouTube comment, so congratulations to you, Purple Hound. I think the odds are about 1 in 10 or 1 in 15 that it will be someone from the comment section. So the odds aren't absolutely terrible. It just kind of depends on the ratio every single video. But like I said, I will be making improvements on this in the future to help improve that ratio, but then also make sure that the people that are winning are the ones that do actually want to enter into that giveaway. So in a nice way, it is a win-win for everyone. And Purple Hound says that they are excited for Hello Kitty Day at the Park, which they've been watching the gameplay and they think it looks light, but like a lot of fun. And if you are interested in Hello Kitty, you'll definitely want to stay tuned for next week's episode because, spoiler alert, that will be one of the giveaways. But for now, you won yourself a really nice pledge for Canopy, so congratulations. Just email me at adam@shelfclutter.com and we'll get that pledge all sorted out for you. And that's everything I have for you this week, and even though it is a bit of a slower week this week, I think this is just a eye of the storm right now because I don't expect these campaigns to slow down at least for another month or two. Usually the games go quite nuts until the end of November, and then we have a bit of a lull during the Christmas holidays. Then things are just going to get crazy again right at the start of the year, but I am looking forward to a little bit of a break over the month of December because there's a lot more improvements I want to make to the channel. There's other videos I want to make as well. I'm not sure if I'll have the time or not. I'm still moving into this house. I did make a lot of progress on my renovations, but I still have a beam sticking out the side of my house, so I gotta sort that out, take out a couple walls, put in some floor, all that good stuff, which will take me a bit of time because I don't have the money to pay people to do this for me. But I do enjoy taking a pause on that every single week in order to put these videos together for all of you. So thanks so much for tuning in each and every week. I really do appreciate all of you making all of this possible. And until next time, just remember, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.